We will start very shortly. So please, if you have any questions or comments, you can always use the box chat. We will read it and there will be a Q&A session. Thank you.
Yeah, Jana, the PPT is switching up. Oh yeah, okay. No, it's fine. Okay.
All right. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everybody joining the webinar today from all over the globe. We are here to celebrate the International Zero Waste Day 2026. Zero waste starts on your plate, beating pollution of food waste led by youth. My name is Harry Hoàng Trân. I'm from Vietnam, a task force associate of the Green Economy and Resources Working Group of CYMG. This year, Zero Waste theme is Zero Waste Starts on Your Plate, where the campaign will focus on critical actions to prevent food waste as a top climate solution. Zero Waste Starts on Your Plate highlights the simple but powerful idea that reducing your waste begins with everyday choices, from how we plan and purchase food to how we prepare and store and consume it. Therefore, strengthening food waste reduction policy could therefore become an important climate mitigation strategy that must be promoted and further amplified as urgency in global environmental governance. So due to this urgency, the Children and Youth Major Group to UNEP, or the CYMG, in the momentum of the International Zero Waste Day 2026, we are here to convene a virtual event, welcoming you all here today to promote discussion, bridge understanding, and stock-take key action items that must be advanced. So this theme aligns with the narratives promoted by UNEP for the International Zero Waste Day 2026 campaign and the series of activities. So welcome you all here once again. So to start today's event, let me welcome Mr. Hino Samuel Jose for the opening remarks. Please welcome him as the thematic focal point of the green economic resources of the CYMG to the UNEP. Please welcome Hino.
Thank you, Harry. Thank you, colleagues. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Distinguished speakers, esteemed participants, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues. First of all, my name is Hino Samuel Jose. I'm from Indonesia. I'm serving as thematic focal point for green economy and resources at the CYMG to UNEP. I would like to first convey my sincere appreciation to Jana, my colleague from the Chemical and Waste Pollution Working Group, to collaborate with our working group for today's celebratory event of CYMG for the International Zero Waste Day, supported by UNEP as well. Can you move to the next slide, please? So I'll just be quick to allow more time for the speakers, the keynote presenters, to present their items. First of all, I will not be deconstructing the whole UNEP Food Waste Index report that was published in 2024, along with its other report published in 2021. I'll just take one single data, which is the global food waste that was identified by UNEP, where household produce more than 79 kilogram per capita per year. And there were 631 million tons of food waste produced by household in 2022. It is far larger compared to other source of waste, such as the food service sector or the retail sector. So this trend is actually very important to understand. And in today's society, we are now seeing also shifting patterns of consumption of food in our society. For example, we see that Gen Z, the young people, and even some consumers, both in the older and younger population segment, they now shift from shopping groceries to takeaways. They are no longer buying groceries, cook it at home, and then eat it at home, but they are now using food delivery app to get food delivered seamlessly to their house. And then also we are seeing a new trend where, for example, right now we see the economy is actually quite depressing for Gen Z. That's how I want to term it. That's why most of the Gen Z that I know, especially my friends who are coming out of town, living in Jakarta, when they are renting an apartment or a condo or a flat or whatever it is, it's a very compact living space. It's only enough for them to sleep and to sit down and put one desk there and one cabinet, and then that's it. But the issue is those rooms habitated by the Gen Z, they are not sufficient enough in terms of hosting, food and waste storage capacity. Because of course their room is smaller, and then it yields into a much smaller room for appropriate ways of sorting waste, including food waste. And then the new trend that we identify also is consumerism. I've seen my friend drinking boba every day, every week, and it resulted in significant amount of plastic waste per person. In Asia, in my region, boba is something that you need to live with, for the young people especially. And then, this kind of new behavior actually yield a new patterns, yield a new insight for all of us to understand that actually we need to understand that youth is no longer a consumer that is making options consciously, but also they are making options because they believe that, when they are buying food and consumption products, they need to also link it with their own lifestyle, and it is driven by trends. So there are some unconscious effects as well. Next slide, please. So, apologies for the fourth box, but I was about to write that part regarding conscious and unconscious risks. Next slide. Yes. Now, this is the Youth Consultative Meeting that was held by CYMG in 2025. It was held last year. I think Ludovica, one of the FAO people here, attended the meeting and spoke there. Sorry, it was a delay on me. The slides on the Youth Consultative Meeting. Thank you. So I think before we jump to the discussion, I want to present some key findings that we found from the previous Youth Consultative Meeting convened by CYMG, supported by the Yango and the UN Food Systems Coordination Hub, Stakeholder Engagement and Network Advisory, SINA Youth Network, where, for example, regarding food waste, we found that AI-based application for restaurant is very important to connect surplus of food supply to local charities that are in need. And also we found that food sharing and startup-based solutions are very important, in terms of their role in redistributing excess food. And we also found that we need stronger distribution channels to reduce losses between farms and consumers. We also found that, we need better post-harvest preservation to keep production from spoiling, so to speak, also to prevent food loss in a way. And we need also an improved storage facility. So when it comes to improved storage facility, we could talk about cold chain, storage capacity. We could also talk about, how the consumers could actually also, promote their own storage capacity to store food better, in a better quality, that keep them fresh, without having to discard them if the consumer fail to consume it when they need to. And then we need also modern drying facilities and innovation to reduce food spoilage. And then we need direct farmer to consumer platform and applications to reduce unsold produce and post-harvest waste. And then we need to also tackle household level food waste issue, upcycling food waste into animal feed. There are various other ways that we can do this. And my point being here is we have so many solutions, but how to converge those stakeholders, those players within the ecosystem into that solutions. That's why I want to borrow the term of the convergence initiative, in which Dr. Nicole may explain later from the FAO, from FAO. So how to converge actors to solutions. Next slide. Now I'm going to talk about the deliverables. This is my last slide, my second last slide. The deliverables that was produced last year in Nairobi. We want to promote a global sustainable food systems transition, develop national target and roadmaps for food systems transformation, integrate consultative process, and designate food sovereignty protected areas. These are the 4 key proposals from the Global Youth Declaration on the Environment that was adopted on the sideline of the United Nations Environmental Assembly in Kenya. And the Green Economy and Resource Working Group is actually working to facilitate this cluster, specifically facilitating consultation and then incorporating inputs from broader member of the 9,000 member of the youth network under the CYMG. And then we are working to make sure that these points are reflected in future UNEA. Our dream is one thing. As of now, we are dreaming of UNEA, the United Nations Environmental Assembly, that will adopt a resolution on food systems. We tried to do it. UNEA 6, we failed. UNEA 7, we tried to do it. There were some resolution being withdrawn because of procedural matters, and there was also some reasons because of the agenda being tight and everything. And countries don't want to negotiate overnight. But now in UNEA 8, let's hope that we can kick this forward so we can tackle food systems, food waste issue, in a much ratified manner, in a manner that, formalize UNEP program of work where it could mobilize member states financing and private sector support. Last slide, please. Next slide. Now to close my keynote, in which I'm already over time by 1.5 minutes according to my timer. We need to move from raising awareness of stakeholders, to communities that actually put ownership. We need to move them forward. Raising awareness of the stakeholders also include the government itself. The governments, in fact, are actually understanding a lot of things, but sometimes when they want to move with a starting point, they need a mandate. And when they need a mandate, they need pressure. And when they need the pressure, they need high-level directive. And when we need high-level directive in the government bureaucracy structure, we need advocacy. This is where the youth also play an important role. And we need also mainstream narrative across processes. So food waste should not be the agenda of the youth working in the environment. It should be the agenda of youth working everywhere. It should be the agenda of youth working in energy sector, because food waste can be turned into energy. We need it to be part of the agenda of the youth working in the social justice sector. We need their legal advocacy. We need a strong legal reform to support environmental sustainability. We need also people, youth and non-youth, working outside of the system, outside of the environmental issue, to take care about this issue as well, because this is an issue that requires behavioral nudge. And when we want to push nudge, we need to attract people to receive that nudge and act upon it. And then my last point will be promoting youth as co-governor. Co-governor is the key. Youth is not only beneficiary, but we are also the co-governor of our food systems governance. We need we need to be the one that is not only serving as constituents, but also as actors that move decisions. And lastly, just transition and circularity. This is the foundation of all of those three: just transition and circular economy. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Samuel, for such an inspiring and energetic, absolutely energetic presentation. So right now, to follow up with that, we will move on to a presentation about youth to beat pollution, presented by Jana Radhi, thematic focal point of chemical waste and pollution of the CYMG to the UNEP. So please welcome Jana.
Thank you very much, Harry, and thank you, Samuel. Um, those were incredibly great points and set the scene of a lot of passion and energy that will mobilize us forward, not just for this webinar, but I think moving forward up until UNEA 8. So thank you again for spotlighting all the work of the Green Economy and Resources Working Group. My name is Janna Rodi. I am from the Chemicals, Waste and Pollution Working Group under CYMG, and I am from Egypt. And I will very briefly share with you more about the Youth to Beat Pollution campaign, which was officially launched last year at the Youth Environment Assembly, the third iteration ahead of UNEA 7. The Youth to Beat Pollution campaign basically capitalizes upon UNEP's existing Beat Pollution campaign, which was under the UNEP Comms division, the communications division. And the goal is to bring more spotlight and attention to how young people are raising awareness, are advocating, and are also taking action towards beating pollution in their communities, but also in their policy advocacy. And the three main goals of the Youth to Beat Pollution campaign are as follows. Firstly, it's to translate science. There's a lot of very technical information out there, and with the digital space, it's quite accessible nowadays to be able to access publications and academic papers. However, not all of these technical content was made to be youth-facing. And given young people are now at the converging area, if I may use the buzzword that you use, Samuel, which is incredibly interesting, and I look forward to Dr. Nicole's presentation now a lot more. Young people are at the tips of change. And so for them to really be able to mobilize as much of their creative and intellectual energy as possible, they need to have access to knowledge in an accessible way. Secondly, is to strengthen youth engagement in a meaningful way. And I think this is quite in alignment with the recent publication from the UN Youth Office on the meaningful engagement process and the publication that they have pushed forward. And thirdly, is to amplify lived experiences. Some of you might have seen this and that we've already started on this in terms of showcasing real stories of young people on the ground being impacted by pollution, but also the steps that they are taking to tackle this pollution. And so we hope that this campaign will be a platform and space to really bring more attention to the problem of pollution worldwide. So when it comes to zero waste, there are two main things that I would like to leave you as resources and to keep in your toolbox as young people taking action. The first one being the Mottainai Youth Declaration on Zero Waste and Circularity, which was created last year through multiple consultations, and it was formally adopted at the UNEP Global Dialogue of Circular Economy Model of Waste Management in Osaka, Japan, in collaboration with UNEP IETC. And this was through the first Youth Day in this global dialogue, focusing on youth leadership in zero waste. The Mottainai Youth Declaration, you can scan the QR code, basically splits it into values as well as calls to action. And the values part is exactly what Samuel was talking about in terms of the behaviors and the lifestyles that we need to change and adopt to be able to really move towards zero waste. Secondly, I would like to leave you with this incredible resource that was the result of many young people around the world and actually led by my co-focal point, Asil Abu Talib, in terms of creating a youth-facing summary of the Global Waste Management Outlook that was published in 2024. This summary condenses the Global Waste Management Outlook, which is an incredible technical report that looks at the projections of how waste would be increasing up till 2030 and 2050 if we continue business as usual. And it was condensed into about 15, 20 pages for young people with a lot of visuals. And I would also highly encourage you to scan the QR code and have this as a resource for you moving forward. With that being said, I will also leave you with this in terms of we would love to hear from you in terms of what actions are you taking to transform your communities into zero waste. And this can include your schools, your workplaces, your home environment, what individual actions you're taking or systems you're trying to change. And I would encourage you to check out this link, which is a live document that we have in terms of accumulating actions that young people are taking around the world. So please put in your initiatives as well as your friends' initiatives, share this with anyone you know. And we'll also put the link into the chat. Maybe if Samuel or someone else can help to put the link into the chat. We would love to also learn from you in terms of what actions you're doing. And with that, I think that was my last slide. I will pass it on to you, Harry, to continue. Thank you.
Thank you, Jana, for such an inspiring presentation. Please, everybody, you can tap in the link, or we can send it the link to chat. Yet, Sammy already did it. So you can share your zero waste initiative. All right. So to follow up with that, we have a presentation from Dr. Nicole De Paula, Technical Officer, Science for Food System, UN Food System Coordination Hub. So please welcome Dr. Nicole.
Thank you so much. Very pleased to be with you all. I think I already learned a lot. It's an honor. It's I like the concrete start we had. So congratulations, sharing all these resources and, a clear call to action. So I would like to clarify that, I'm, as you presented, Nicole De Palma, Technical Officer. I'm sitting here in Rome. So good afternoon from my side today. We are the UN Food Systems Coordination Hub. So meaning that we are an interagency. So we are at FIO, but we have also all the Rome-based agencies together with you. And our mandate is really to have, the continuing the follow-up of the UN Food System Summit that was created in 2021. So with that, I'll kindly ask my colleague Ludovic if you can share. We were having some issues with the presentation. I hope it will go on presentation mode. I see in presentation mode. Do you all see? So it's really my computer that was tricking me.
Now.
So because, we know how technology likes to do that with us. So thank you. I would like to also thank my two colleagues, Ludovica Nesbitt and Trish Mozenda, who are in this call, who helped to put bringing some of the data together and clarify. I'm no, let's say, food waste expert, but I would like today, I think our contribution is to bring this conversation, obviously, and I think you touched upon this, of how much of the connections we need to make. So I see myself as, a knowledge bridger, bringing the points together. That's the role of the hub as well. We are coordinating so many initiatives. So it's to kind of give you where we could act. So that's kind of my presentation. Then we'll move to the first slides, please. So is it moving? Let's see. Great. So first things first, indeed, as I was explaining, we do exist. The hub was created in 2022, and the vision is really to drive this transformation, having specific strategies on food systems transformation. And since 2021, it was a great success. It was a summit called by the UN Secretary General that invited all countries at the highest level of representation to actually act on food systems. There are so many solutions we could bring to the SDGs, any topic. It's very hard to find a SDG that is not connected to food systems. We all, if we are not part of vulnerable populations, we all eat every day. We're lucky to have access to food. Not everybody's lucky to have access to nutritious food. And now some people, and that's the conversation today, sometimes we're not even valuing food and we are wasting that. So many countries are moving forward, having this agenda, and here at the Hub, we help to keep the conversation at the highest level of the agenda and connecting the dots. Next slide, please. Here, I'll just give a brief overview, and I think you have many experts in the call, also the resources that you already have shared. There's a lot of numbers of this. I think at FIO here, approximately 13% of the food is lost from harvest to retail, while another 17%, or roughly 1 billion tons, here 19% is waste at retail and consumer levels. And of course, we all know that when we are using these resources to produce food, we are also impacting climate change. So 10% of global green gas emissions coming from food loss and waste. Of course, it's very hard, and I think that's the challenge of all the experts and science to how do we do this methodologies, how do we improve this tracing, this mechanism, and the monitoring. So, and thanks to UNEP, and we're going to have a presentation after, they are really the custodian of that. They will have, I think, much more and better data here. But the idea is that we are combining all these efforts, and there is a lot that we can do in the food part to drive this this transformation. So when you talk about food loss, and I think it's interesting to go into the reports when you see, the definitions, what is loss, what is waste, when it happens, and how. But food loss occurs really when in terms of the production, retail level, so during transport, harvest, producing. So there are many stages even before we are wasting food that when we are talking about how we are dealing with our food on an everyday basis, we could drive and finding the solutions. So I'll move to the next slide, please. And what it was, we were trying in preparation for this presentation, we were always trying to see where is it appearing in our own agenda? And I think we could do more. And you all have the role to push us to do more on this agenda. So I'd like to bring you this topic of the national pathways, this concept that you go back to your country and you can go to our website and find. The national pathways are these country-led strategies. No? They identify how each country will drive this food systems transformation. When we talk about systems, of course, there are no solutions. I am from Brazil. We know, for example, we have large resources. We have a problem, no secret, with deforestation, agriculture, and at the large scale, sometimes, of course, it is a discussion. But it's a very different for solutions from a country would have, let's say, the Middle East, when it has a lot of food imports. So it's a different type of solution. So each national pathway must come up with their own solutions. Of course, reflecting, as I said, this national priority solutions. And so far, we have a person that is called the national convener in 159 countries. They are in charge of this transformation. So my call to action to you is, if you want to talk about waste, and you need to try to contact your national convener if you are trying to connect with the food systems to see how exactly the networks in your country you could push even more to this agenda. And 130 countries do have a national pathways from transformation. And if you don't have, it's time to start creating one. And I see a lot of the youth being at the heart of this advocacy and pressure, moving some of the agendas forward. And I see the Caribbean region, for example, is a good example of countries that are moving this agenda forward. Next slide, please. So here, as I said, there are many priorities that we could take into consideration when we talk about food loss and waste in national pathways and these strategies. And the way we see is, of course, when you're improving storage, cold chains, it's an incredible high impact of how we're going to avoid this loss. Strengthening supply chains, consumer awareness campaigns that, of course, we're very familiar with that, circular economy solutions. I'll move to the next slide, please. And here, what the national pathways reveal, because we were trying to see how exactly we will find this. And it's, I think, I told you we have maybe 130 or close to 150, and there is space. Very few examples still there of countries perceiving addressing food loss and waste as a solution for food systems transformation. So that's bad news and good news. Good news for us who could, there is still space that we can act. And here are some of how it appears, right? So it's a bit of a post-harvest loss, storage cold chain, as we're saying, processing, date management, logistics, appear at common entry points. On the consumer side, there are a lot of some part of the solutions countries indicating campaigns, school meals, date labeling, how we are, there's a discussion of how we, the best use, the best before, or sometimes how we waste just by confusing of labeling. So that's something, an area that we could also act. Here, circular recovery, biogas, organic waste treatment, reuse of residuals, donations, and food banks are increasingly present and part of the solutions of how can we overcome that. And I think somebody mentioned also, if we're talking about climate change, obviously all this waste is precious energy, and we could have so much gain from this combination of actions. Governance targets, milestones, plans, interagent action, data systems. I think here the point, and we were mentioned here, in the previous speaker, Jenna, you also mentioned that you need to, in the campaign, that translating the science. So obviously, we will not go very far if we don't increase our way to measure and monitor this. And I think that's what we're learning with these reports. Maybe a report that was in 2021, and I believe it's every 4 years that we're trying to have this index. There's incredible already improve in how we are tracing this, but obviously a lot of space to continue. Next slide, please. And these are the three countries that we did a search in all these pathways that appeared. And maybe you could, it's an invitation for you to also dig deeper. We saw that Korea was presenting some clearly options in the pathways, Vietnam and Spain. So again, I'm not going to read all the details, but food donations in Vietnam, improved supply chains again, harvest technologies, and in Korea, recycling to animal feed, compost, biogas. Another here, food waste increased by 25%. And at least it seemed that you're having better data in these cases. But still, I think we were expecting to find, and then I'll let also my colleagues to confirm who helped with this research, it's not enough, right? I think we all agree. 3 countries we would expecting to have, I think there is an opportunity to expand this area of research and action. Next slide, please. And here is what this is what this event does today. We all, of course, we need this, we like this word convergence because that's what we're trying to do. At the Hub, we do have an initiative called Convergence, which brings the climate space, but also with all the conversations of the Rio Convention. So we have biodiversity, we have desertification, and obviously we are not going to find solutions for any of this very large what we call wicked problems without this convergence of actors. And what I do specifically also the Hub is that we are leading, having a large youth leadership program. So having these networks connected, very thankful again for the Children and Youth Major Group of UNEP to connect the agenda of food systems. And I think that having the other youth groups, they're not necessarily connected to the environment directly, but to demonstrate that they also have a role to play. Next slide, please. And this is, I just wanted to illustrate with the work that we do and invite you all to also learn a little bit more about the youth program. We do have indication that we will continue with that. And what we are doing is 3,000 people applied to be part of this program. And we could only select a bit less than 100. But it's very interesting to see how these young leaders in developing countries are taking, also clear action together with this decision maker. So one of the main advantages of having this youth leadership program in particular is that we want to connect them to decision makers. And I think it links to the point that they need to be co-architects of these national strategies. It's a lot about the governance of how do we do inclusive decision making. And everybody now is talking about, putting a lot of hopes into the youth. They say, what gives you hope in politics these days? And a lot of people will quote, the youth. But it's obviously not fair to transfer their responsibility and accountability to this generation if so many of the initiatives could be done today. So you also have this role of putting pressure, but continue. So we have 2 here, I think it was the case in Cameroon, some of the examples that appear. I'll go to the next slide. I think we have more specific names and also you can potentially connect. Our colleague in Reno from the Philippines, Ethiopia, Dina, Cameroon, Rita. So we are constantly trying to collect stories to see how exactly they are doing. So this is in Ethiopia, Philippines, Cameroon. If you are from these countries, feel free to connect so we can try to advance also these specific solutions at the local, in the local context. Next slide, please. And here we have Hino already being part of this. Because again, as we said, we're trying to do a lot and I saw that there was a declaration, there are consultations, but what worries me personally is that how we're getting to all these declarations and again, making them accountable or bringing how we can make our decision makers aware of these declarations and how these declarations will be part of these national pathways. So this is again, a call to action to all of you. Let's connect all our youth declarations to try to bring this effort, not to one, I think we can still have a few, but what we offer here as the UN Food Systems Coordination Hub is the space where this conversation is happening and where we can put the pressure to move the agenda forward. So obviously here, I think, we have the first in May last year, we have the first inaugural youth preparatory conference for the UN Food System stock take that happened in Ethiopia in July last year. So every 2 years, this large event happens that all countries are invited, but of course the civil society. And we see that we had this first preparatory youth meeting, but now we need to have the second and maybe a scale and connect to this network. So I just want to illustrate, and you're well placed to continue helping us to do that. And I'll move to the next slide, which I believe I'm close to close this. There is our invite you all to see our youth declaration. I see in the chat. Thank you, Ludovica, for sharing. And the idea is if you could also come back to us, I would like to make ourselves available to all of you with suggestions, concrete requests, and solutions of how we can move from declarations to specific projects, and what are the skills or activities that the youth is in need that can help them to mobilize and be more, active into this. So in this declaration, food loss across value chains and food waste appears. This was done in 6 regions across the globe, so developing and developed countries. And we do see a lot of call also for support on innovation, entrepreneurship. That is something probably areas where the youth appears most drastically. So I think it's next slide. And with that, I will close, and I invite all of you to connect with us, because pretty soon we're going to have new announcements of our youth leadership program. Also in May, we're conducting an event that will be online. It will be in Italy. So if you're in Italy, you can apply to attend in person. But mostly we are also making a lot of efforts to connect online. It's a reflection on this first phase of the youth leadership program and how we move forward. So I think if we can place, I would personally be very happy to see environmental topics that, of course, impacts a very systemic one, but the UNEP and the major group of children and youth, particularly dealing with that, more engaged in our efforts in food systems. Thank you very much for the invitation. And of course, I remain available to connect beyond this event. And I hope you, and feel free to send any questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Nicole, for your presentation on by the Food, Agriculture and Organization Office of Sustainable Development Goals. We really love the part where the youth is also one of the important social group that can accelerate the food waste reduction process. So moving on from the FAO to the UNEP, let me welcome. Can we have a slide, please? Just 1 second.
I can help if needed.
Yeah, could you? Thank you.
Yes.
Yes. So to move on, we are going to welcome Ms. Kotone Yamamoto, Program Officer for Urban Food Systems and Food Waste Cities Unit from the United Nations Environment Program. She is going to present on the UNEP role and actions in combating food waste. Please welcome.
Thank you very much for the introduction, and just let me share my slide first, and then I will come back. Okay, presenter mode. Okay, can you see the slide?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you very much for inviting me today to this great event. And yes, again, my name is Kotone Yamamoto, and I'm speaking on behalf of UNEP Urban Food Systems and the Food Waste team to share some of our recent works on the food waste prevention and the reduction. And also, if I may, I'm also the youth representative from our team also. This is rather self-claimed, so I hope I can share some of the insight from the youth perspective today as well. So before introducing our work, just let me briefly share about the International Day of Zero Waste today. This is annual observance co-facilitated by the UNEP and UN Habitat. And this year marks as our 4th edition, actually, with a specific focus on one of the most urgent and impactful environmental challenges, which is food waste. And in this regard, we are today actually publishing several web stories highlighting a wide range of success stories and case studies on food waste reductions at the subnational city levels and food businesses, as well as AI and technology sectors at this dedicated website. So for those of you who are interested in, please visit our website. I think that you can see the QR code here on the left side, as well as the link will be shared after this webinar. So please invite you to explore more information on that. So first, just recalling here the reason why addressing food waste is critical from an environmental perspective. So frozen waste account for 8 to 10% of the GHG emissions, as I think Samuel was mentioned earlier. And food waste alone can contribute to the 14% of the global methane emissions. And while we are wasting over 1 billion tons of food, the hundreds of billions of people are still facing hungers today. And beyond that, frozen waste comes with a significant economic cost that could otherwise to be used for the better purpose elsewhere, such as improving malnutrition or hunger alleviation as well. And so addressing frozen waste is truly sort of triple win to solve environmental, social, and economic challenges of today. So just to quickly introducing UNEP's key role in this food waste spaces as a custodian of SDG 12.3, much of our work is around science and the data, global advocacy that includes food waste breakthrough initiatives that I will introduce in a later slide, and also co-facilitation of the International Zero Waste Day this year, as well as the International Day of Awareness of Frozen Waste, which is coming in on 29th of September, together with FAO, actually. And the third, regional cooperation works, where we support various platforms, as you can see here, G20 EU platforms or other regional food waste working groups. And finally, the in-country delivery works. So as you can see here on the left side, one of our work on science and the data is through food waste index, which I will talk about now. So food waste index report is published every 3 years. So the next food waste index will coming in 2027. And this report provides a common methodology for countries to measure and report food waste across retail and food services, as well as the household sector. And this also aims to track global and the country level progresses on halving food waste under SDG 12.3. And in this report in 2024, we highlighted several findings, including we found a significant proportion of food waste is actually coming from a household sector, which accounts for 60% of the food waste in total, as earlier mentioned by Samuel. And this highlights the importance of actually the consumer behavior change or private-public collaboration as a part of the solutions. And we also found that there is no clear statistical correlations between the country income groups and the household per capita food waste in the area where the data is currently available, of course. So what this means is that food waste is truly sort of a global challenges that is not restricted only to the rich countries. This requires a collective and a collaborative action across the countries. And while the data coverage, particularly at the household level, is improving compared to the previous version of the food waste index report, which was in 2022, but there's still gaps in food services and the retail data points. So action including the set of a national baseline, measurement mechanism at the food services and the retail sector, as well as policy requirements need to be scaled up. But that being said, we believe the action at the scale is still possible because we've been seeing great progresses across progresses and achievement in reduction target public-private partnerships, awareness raising programs, voluntary agreement initiatives across different countries. As you can see here, some example from 3 countries, Japan, the UK, and the Netherlands. But we know that significant reduction in the global south as well as emerging countries still need to be demonstrated and scale up. So this brings us to our recent initiative, the food waste breakthrough, and I will introduce about how this played the important role to fill those gaps or addressing those challenges of today. So with the aim of having food waste in line with SDG 12.3 and reducing up to 7% of global methane emission, the Food Waste Breakthrough Initiative was launched at COP30 in Brazil last year. And the breakthrough serves as a sort of a platform that brings together the national government, cities, and the private sector to scale the action on the food waste reduction. And we are really hoping to increase the effort and the action from the cities and the food businesses, not only central government or country levels. So how are we actually doing this? Well, the idea is structured around the following 3 key pillars. First, capacity buildings and advocacy to provide the technical assistance and the advocacy spaces for learning and sharing experiences across the different stakeholders. We currently have 4 regional working groups already, but some thematic working groups are also planned to be established in coming years. And we also have a data and the policy pillars which support measurement and the reporting works in line with the food waste index, which I earlier introduced. And finally, the finance and the implementation pillar, which we support bridging those finance and program implementation gaps to ensure that actions are actually delivered on the ground. We currently have 3 champion countries joining the breakthrough. This is Brazil, Japan, and the UK. And there are also 12 champion cities and subnationals from Amman to Rio de Janeiro, as you can see here, that are also on board. And last but not least, we also have 6 companies in a breakthrough who are growing their engagement for these food waste reductions. And more champions are planned to join this initiative this year. And especially for those in the audience today, if you are from cities or actors working for the cities, large-scale private sectors who are already addressing food waste reductions, we would really like to invite you to engage with us through the food waste breakthrough. So for more detail about the initiative itself, but also how to join these initiatives, please scan the QR code here on the slide, but also the link will be shared after the webinar. And so last but not least, I think we really should not forget about the critical role of the consumers, the choice we make every day at the supermarket, restaurant, or cafe with your friends, or at home with your families. Those actions have a very significant impact on the food waste generation, food waste reduction. I believe this is especially relevant for today's audience, the youth, who could also play a very important role here. So that brings our last presentation part of it, but upcoming product. So we are currently preparing the new publication, Facilitation Guide for Youth-Led Months of Action on the Food Waste, which will be released soon on our website. And this guide is designed to support youth in leading activities around the month of International Day of Awareness of Fluorescent Waste in September. So the date itself is on the 29th of September, but the guide itself provides a whole month of action on September, and also it will be flexible to adapt in any month of action by youth itself. And it gives a wide variety of practical tools, educational materials, or hands-on activities such as cooking classes, composting practices or many educational ideas that can integrate food waste topic into the existing school curriculums or educational event. And while this guide is a preliminary design for the schools, we strongly believe that this can also be used flexibly by the youth groups themselves or other communities, regardless of the age groups, who wants to take action spontaneously. Also from my professional background in the education and the food systems, as well as personal perspectives as a youth representative, I strongly believe that youth have a really unique and powerful roles to play, especially in the context of the food systems. Because when young people to learn to cook or save food and revalue the food, I think this significantly goes beyond the individual actions themselves, which could impact their friends' actions or families' behaviors at home or other communities they are belonging to. And those young people, including myself, but also yourself, will be one day the decision makers or leading actors for the sustainable development or, sustainable food system to the future generation as well. So I really hope this guide will serve as an entry point or enabling to scale youth-led action and provide engaging, but also very fun activities to all. So if you are interested in, please stay tuned, and the guide will soon to be available on our Stop Food Waste website, and the link is here, but also in the next slide. So that's all from me today, but thank you very, very much again for this opportunity to talk. And if you have any questions, feel free to send a message to me, but also on the chat today. So back to the moderator, Harry. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Kotone Yamamoto, so much for the presentation. That was very wonderful. So right now, we will move on to the Q&A and open floor discussion. This will be moderated by Mr. Samuel. Are you ready?
By Jana. Thank you. I have talked too much today. So Jana, you may have the floor. But
Thank you, Samuel. I also recognize the time. So I've been monitoring the Q&A box a bit, and there's a lot of questions, but there's a common question basically about translating. So what advice, maybe I'll give this question to both Dr. Nicole and Ms. Kotone. What advice do you have for young people to translate the global guides, global declarations, all of these global advocacy efforts to action at a national and local level? And I know that you had mentioned, Dr. Nicole, the national transformation pathways and the coordinators, and there has been a link in the chat for young people to check who their coordinator is at a national level. But is there any other advice that you have for young people to take action at a national level?
So I'll start because, as you know, Jenna, I do have to leave in a few minutes for another, but I want to, and maybe I come back. I just need to. But thank you so much for all your questions, and I think we would need another webinar to respond to all of them. I'll try, but we will continue this conversation. So it's just today. Translation. I mean, of course, I don't have a magic formula, and I would like to say that we're all learning. I'm learning myself. We're working with the youth for different groups. If we work with indigenous people, women's group, farmers, nobody will have the monopoly depending on the discipline and know what you're doing. So you have to find. So in terms of advice, I'll try to share how I've been going through my own career. Not everybody will do the same thing. So you have to see and decide and define what is your what your comparative advantage, what you're good at. And then you're finding initiatives. So what I like to tell people is that normally, whatever the theme, with the SDGs, what you're doing, it's very interesting to try to connect what your city, very important areas, no? Because you can make it even more concrete, because not everybody can reach, the president, the prime minister. So that's not a very practical one. But if you cannot act alone. So the most important thing is to act through networks. Find your network. Could start at your school, because it's your university. If you're a researcher, you will bring the data. If you're more on advocacy, you have to create a movement. You can create your social enterprise. You can bring the data, but also try to bring and connect the dots. But I would also, one piece of advice is very important. Go to places where you don't know the people. Because if you're bringing, we're constantly talking to each other. And if we're going talk, if where you're going, everybody's, you know, an environmental advocate. You're not bringing those who actually need to. And I'll give an example. I'm, you know, my background is international relations, but I did a lot of work on public health, but coming from the environment. And if when you start talking to epidemiologists or doctors, that you see that you think, oh, I don't know anything because I'm not a doctor, but then you realize, well, wait a minute, they don't understand where to put this knowledge. So the advice is to circulate among different networks, act collectively, but also finding the right space. And that's why I think the UN Food Systems Coordination Hub brings the space, because countries every 2 years, they have to report what they are doing. And now if we have this youth much more, let's say, in a stronger position, when you call your minister, said, do you have anything on youth? Do you have a space for youth? Did you consult the youth? That gives you legitimacy to keep pushing, but also connecting to something that they already have to do. So the idea is like, let's work on the timing and on the policy relevance of these questions. And when you talk about finance, I mean, this is a win-win situation. Waste is, you know, is money in a different shape. So you have to prove that. And once you know, you already have a lot on the plate to drive this transformation. Thank you, but we will continue. Please feel free to get in touch, and we'll try to develop more. Thank you so much for the space.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nicole. That's great advice for sure. I think it's we need to pollinate a lot more outside of where we are usually comfortable. Thank you for that, Ms. Kotani.
Yes. So in terms of how to translate those, you know, activities or, you know, what we are talking about into the, you know, action on the ground, especially our team, urban food system and the food waste team is under the city unit. So we are really closely working with the cities. And what we find is that, you know, at the national level, of course, we need the policies, we need a mechanism to measure, act, you know, on the food waste reduction. But, you know, for those people who is actually working on the ground is much more like a local government and cities, subnational. So we really working closely with those actors really close to on the ground. And as I think Nicole was saying, was that I think I really agree with that, you know, find the networks in the cities or find the, you know, any entry point where you can work in the city, such as, you know, we can see, you know, those volunteering initiatives or maybe social communities where you can share your recipes and, you know, what you found about food waste reduction. So for myself, you know, I'm also the youth representative. You know, if I think about how to take action by myself, probably, you know, finding entry point at the city level or your community could be, you know, one of the way to work. But also, I think, you know, we are gonna prepare. We are preparing this the guide, and what I can recommend is please share your thought and also enjoy this activity. You know, that's one of the very important point. If you find it, you know, you hate it to do this activity or this works, or you know, you don't like it. I mean, you cannot continue. It's not gonna be sustainable. So what I can recommend as a youth, or maybe, you know, turning soon to be not youth anymore, but is please enjoy your activity and share your thoughts and you know, good practices across your neighbors and the communities and their family and the friends. So that's from me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Kotani. We're all very much looking forward to the youth guide a lot, actually. So hopefully that will be published soon. And with that, given the short time frame, I really wanted to thank Dr. Nicole and Ms. Kotani for sharing their experience with us and a lot of very important resources, which will circulate afterwards as well for those who missed it during the session. And we just wanted to ask if it's okay to have a quick photo before you leave us. So I will ask if possible.
Please, everyone, turn. Ludovica and Paula, you want to turn on your camera for the photo session? Okay, now we can take the picture in 5, 4. Paula, is that turning on? Okay. Okay, Paula is turning on. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Jana, please assist also from your laptop. I think, yeah, 3, 2, 1. Thank you, colleagues.
Thank you all. We'll be in touch.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
To the
And with
participants.
that, yeah,
So, yeah.
awesome. With that, I believe we are moving on to our next session, which I will pass it to Catherine to moderate, and I'll just help by sharing my screen.
Thank you, Jana, and thank you to all the brilliant presentations that the previous speakers did, from Dr. Lee and Ms. Kotoni. Thank you so much. And as for now, we're going to hear also from brilliant young people from across the globe who are doing amazing work in their different countries and in the society. So for our chat, we will have Paulo Sarakekia. Paulo, I hope you're with us. And we have Zaina Ilzain, and we have Kavya Nara Simhan, and myself, who is Catherine Iliwa, a moderator and also a member of the Children and Youth Media Group, UNEP, under the Task Force for the Resources. And yeah, I'm super excited to have each and every one of you share with us your experiences and the work that you're doing. So we're going to go straight to the gentleman, Mr. Paulo. Paulo, I understand that you do work with communities in Tanzania. Would you be able to share with us what is that one everyday food waste practice that you've observed that people change? And what made that change to really stick? Paula, can you hear us?
Okay, hello. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me right now?
Yes,
Yes.
loud and clear.
Yeah, okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Paul Sarakikia, and I'm from Tanzania, and I'm working with UNEP Fagio, and I'm working as a zero waste project coordinator, which are now implementing. We are implemented in Tanga, at Dar es Salaam, and Zanzibar. So going straight to the question, as Catherine say, that in our work with community, maybe in Tanzania, what one everyday food waste changes how practice people changed? Yeah, okay. As now, here in Tanzania, we are doing organic composting at the market, where we deal directly with food waste. And one of the most important changes we have observed is in our work at Nipefagio, is particularly at Sim Market is shifting from the mixing of food waste with the general waste to separation, or to segregating organic waste at the source. Previously, or before the intervention of the model at the market, vendors used to dispose all waste together, meaning vegetables, leftover food, fruits or peels, together with plastic and other waste materials like plastics, boxes, iron, and other material. They mix it all together. After the introducing of the zero waste model at the market, which included compost. Right now, vendors began to see where today we are able to, which now turned into compost every day as we build the structure used for composting, and some are used for animal feed, So at the CYMG daily, they generate about 3 tons of waste. But all of this 80% of waste which are generated is organic waste. But we are now able to recover more than which are now produced there. So you can see other activity like animal feed and others. So what made these changes stick was not just an awareness only. Is by building a system. You can give people or can capacitate people, but if you can't give them the model or the system which supports awareness, this cannot be which led to the changes of these people from mixing waste to now they are separating organic from others. First is having a clear infrastructure. We established a collection point and bin specifically at the market, and we build a MRF where we generate compost through organic waste, but also is continuous engagement. We have trained more than 200 vendors at the market who are now know the reason why they can segregate waste. Before they didn't know that mixing waste can lead to the methane generation of methane gases, but right now they know. But the third one, the waste is turned into compost, which is used by farmer at the market, garden, and also it's creating direct between the economic benefit and the people. So at the result right now, we have achieved more than 90% of the participation because they can segregate waste very properly at the market, and they know that if they can segregate waste, they are just creating another problem at the market. So right now, people have been changed from mixing waste together right now are separating them. Thank you. Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you, Paulo, for your contribution. And it does seem that you guys are doing a lot and huge work in combating food waste, and the work that you're doing in Tanzania. Brilliant with Nipe Fagio, I believe. And everyone in the chat today, please do check out Nipe Fagio and the work that they're doing. And also, if you have questions to all of our speakers, please note them down. And we'll move straight to the next speaker. Zaina won't be joining us today, unfortunately, so we'll go straight to Kavya. And Kavya is from Banofi Leather. And something you need to know about Banofi is that it's an initiative that won the 2025 UNEP Young Champion of the Earth Award. So, Kavya, I have the question for you, which is that what's the biggest gap that you see between great youth-led ideas, the innovations that we have, and the implementation, and how do you think that gap can be closed?
Thank you, Catherine. I hope everyone can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. So I think the biggest gap really lies in adoption. Industries are often built for efficiency, so they don't want to change. So even when strong solutions exist, integrating them into existing systems, it becomes a real challenge. What we also call the valley of death, that's stage between a working sample and a real commercial scale. Over 90% of youth, they kind of falter here due to funding gaps or even fragmented supply chain. Sometimes they have regulatory hurdles, which tend to favor more incubants. Maybe closing this gap requires a more collaborative, a system-level approach. Innovation can not happen in isolation. So it has to be co-created with communities, industries, and even policymakers from the very beginning. I will share a little bit about my journey through Banofi. So we're a women-led team. We've been working at the intersection of sustainability and material innovation. So our research, we found that banana is one of the most widely grown crops in India. So we've noticed through surveys that there are literally 120 million tons of agricultural waste that's generated just through this crop. So we address this challenge through deliberate strategies. We partner directly with over 50 plus smallholder farmers through cooperative societies. And we wanted to ensure that we had a consistent year-round supply. And honestly, what was considered as a burden for farmers as a crop waste has now become a valuable resource. So it's also increasing the household income by up to 20%. This waste is what we use to create our plant-based materials that is serving as an option, as a sustainable alternative to leathers and plastics today. Our journey, it reinforced that it's critical to stay closely aligned with like real societal needs, and you'll also have to engage meaningfully with industries and policies to create a shared value. In our case, we did have the support of investors like Social Alpha, who had helped us move from R&D to pilot stages. And we also had government initiatives like Startup India and Textile Ministry grants that helped us kind of de-risk our scale-up journey. And we critically had to back our work with strong life cycle assessment data. So we have our material that demonstrates up to 95% lower water usage, 90% lower emissions when you compare that with any conventional leather or material, right? So that helped us convert skepticism into partnerships. And today we have fashion brands and automotive players who are using our material at commercial levels. So this made it easier for industries to adopt, and we're able to scale to a production space that each of these segments are enjoying today. So maybe to close the gap at a broader level, we must continue to build solutions, but co-create with end users early and strategically combine public and private funding. Maybe start with grants and move towards equity. At the same time, we also need policies that advocate, like say India's PLI schemes that encourages you to use circular materials in procurement. So it's in the end not about capital, it's about conviction that waste is the new raw material. Yeah, that is that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kavya. I do hear from all that you're sharing is that nothing is actually waste, and that every waste is of value, and it's how we view it, from turning agricultural waste into leather. That's brilliant. And please do check their website, and if someone can be able to share the website of Sanofi in the chat, we would really appreciate that. And so now we'll have one last round of questions to each and every one of you. I'll go. Kavya, is speaking.
Sorry to interrupt. I just meant if anybody has a question, I'll be happy to answer it in the chat.
Yes, I will have the question round right after we finish with the last questions that I'll have for each and every one of you. Yes, and as you heard, if you have a question, please write in the Q&A box and we'll get back to you in a few minutes. But for now, as we are about to close this session, Paulo, I'll begin with you. As we commemorate this day and as we bring this chat to a close, and under this year's theme, which if zero waste starts on our plate, what is one action young people can take today, those who are in this call with us and everywhere else? Mr. Paulo?
Okay, thank you, Catherine. If the wasted food, first of all, is planning. We should be planning of what kind of food we need. We should not only taking food wherever it's there. We should plan maybe at our household level, at our family. We should plan, okay, maybe this week, which food we need, which amount of food we need. So we should take the perfect amount of food we can consume. We should not take more food you can't consume, because as we are taking more food at the end of the day, if we can't use it, we are going, or it is going to end at the waste. And doing so, we are creating more issues. As you know, at the end, it is going to be the organic waste food, which can lead to the greenhouse gases emission through methane. So first of all is planning of the food we need at the end. So the first action is we should plan, but also our lifestyle. We should think of our lifestyle. We should change. You know, some people, they are just going to take food no matter they can't use it, because maybe they see other are using it. So we should choose our lifestyle which support what we need. So a great and more action we should take is thinking about our planning, which food we need and what amount of food we need.
That's a brilliant take. As you all hear, take what you are able to consume and also plan
Sorry, I
for
can't
the
hear
amount of.
Catherine. I can't hear.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes. Paulo, I'm just reiterating what you're saying is that you take what you're able to consume. That's what I understand from what you said. Yes.
Yeah.
And
yes,
please also plan for how you take your food. And now, Kavya, in the same line of questioning, what is that one action people who are in this call today can take? And yeah, everywhere else, in order to minimize food waste.
Yeah, so I think this begins with a mindset shift. For me, on a personal level, I take inspiration from creators like Carla Badrov, Scrappy Cooking, who whips, say, carrot tops to make vibrant pestos, or even like Alessandro Vitale. So these guys have been kind of transforming, how you view kitchen waste, from turning that into guilt to something that's exciting. So maybe young people can start today with a waste remix challenge, raid your fridge daily, portion control, maybe portion mindfully to avoid excess. Then maybe snap and share repurpose meals like overripe fruit smoothies or even crisps on social to spark that viral chain, right? And talking about portion control, I know a lot of us, many of us oversleep. So, but surplus food, it doesn't have to spoil. So I personally, what I do at times like this is I connect with local networks. So there are community collection drives that redistribute edible extras to shelters. So in my, apart from that, even if there are food waste that goes like spoiled, in my society, we segregate wet kitchen waste into communal composting drums. So churning non-edible scraps into some manure for urban gardens, that's also something that could be really helpful. I've seen this firsthand because we've been using what was called a wasteful resource for at Banofi to be kind of like turning that into materials that's of use. So pretty much it starts with a mindset shift. So you'll just have to reshape and like bring in creative ways of using what you call waste today, and that could literally change the way you create or even use your food waste.
Thank you, Ms. Kavya. Thank you, Mr. Paulo, for the brilliant take that each and every one of you gave us, from mindset shift on how to plan what we aim to consume. And so this brings us to the close of our chat. If you still have questions to each of the panelists, please drop them in the Q&A box and we'll further the conversation ahead. And also do check out the initiatives that each and every one of them are doing. And I'll now bring back the floor to my colleague, Harry.
Katrina, sorry to disturb. Just there's a one question. I WhatsApp you the question just now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe
Maybe
read it as well.
how could research institutes be of help in efforts for reducing food waste? What type of studies that should be done? What kind of important research that should be done? Maybe Kafia or Paula can answer that question to give them what kind of research that you as businesses want to see. Thank you.
Thank you, Samuel. I hope both of our speakers have had the questions. So the question is asking what type of research institutions can help in efforts to reducing food waste, and what type of studies would be of benefit. Please just answer briefly on that.
Okay, so at least to start with, I'm just jumping in, Paulo. Yeah, so in terms of at least India, for us, we knew that there was a lot of agricultural waste, but through this conference, I had a lot of insights on what kind of food waste was accumulating and where which segment was contributing a lot to this. So maybe just dissecting further on what kind of percentages or what kind of waste is processed or is accumulating in every part could be even more helpful. And even in terms of research, I think it could also add on what kind of innovators are jumping into the picture and who are all trying to make a change. So even that could kind of create more awareness among people, and maybe once circulated, it could kind of balance out on what kind of issues there are versus who are all trying to cater to that gap. That could be really helpful.
Thank you, Kavya. Paulo, do you have an addition to add to this?
Yes, to my side, maybe I'm thinking about a proper study maybe can be done is assessment of the food pattern driver, meaning that maybe why some people prefer using some of foods, we need to know the pattern of the food flow, maybe which kind of food people prefer more at some areas. So maybe for me, I will say a study should focus on household food waste behavior study in order to know maybe survey can deal with the kitchen dairies waste auditing, maybe key variables, purchasing habit, promoting and the food storage knowledges, having insight on the urban setting, like maybe there is some other region. I think should think about household food waste behavior study. Maybe this could help us to know the flow of food and why some people prefer using some of food. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for the contributions that each and everyone of you shared. And in fact, all of them are totally, absolutely right, as we need to understand the customers as for if you're a company, and also understand their behaviors in order to be able to carve out a solution. So now we can say with this, the session comes to an end, unless Samuel, you have any addition?
Nope. We can proceed to the last concluding remark by Dwi
Okay.
Tamat.
All right then. Thank you once again, Pavia and Paula. And yeah, hope to see you guys soon. Please hurry. The floor is yours.
Harry is not here. I think there is a technical difficulties, but yeah, stepping in to replace Harry. Thank you very much, Catherine, for the remarks and for the great moderation. And thank you to all speakers, Kavya and Paula. And thank you, Kotone. I hope you already heard some of the youth perspective and inputs out of this discussion, Kotone, for your facilitation guide, and CYMG will be also happy to be involved in the facilitation guide formulation. And maybe we can convene another stakeholder consultation just for this, just for the stakeholder facilitation guide. So yeah, thank you. If Jana have no more addition, then hope so. Okay, Jana, thank you so much also for tuning in. And Dwi Tamara, the Task Force Associate, the Green Economy and Resource Working Group of CYMG UNEP, will be delivering her concluding remarks as a discussion report and wrap-up discussion. And the attendance form will be shared now. Thank you. Dwi Tamara, you may have the floor from Indonesia.
Okay, thank you, Samuel. Thank you, everyone. Good day, everyone. My name is Dwi Tamara. I'm from Indonesia, as Samuel already mentioned. I'm Task Force Associate for the Green Economy Research Working Group at CYMG2 UNEP. It is my pleasure to deliver the discussion report and provide a brief wrap-up of today's webinar. Today's discussion highlight that food waste is not only a waste management issue, but a critical climate and development challenge. As emphasized in the opening remarks from Samuel, shifting consumption patterns, particularly among youth, such as increased takeaways, consumerism, and changing lifestyles, are accelerating food waste globally. However, these challenges are also being met with promising youth-led solution from digital innovation to behavior change initiative. And from key insight from Jana, we can see that the campaign plays a crucial role, especially from youth-based pollution, in bridging science and action, such as translating complex pollution issues into accessible knowledge, while also amplifying live experience from the ground. And we can also learn from FAO. We learned that food loss and waste is not fully embedded within national food system strategies, and addressing this issue requires strong multi-stakeholders collaboration with context-specific solution across country, for instance, from post-harvest technology to policy initiative and consumer awareness. And from UNEP, we can so learn that underscore the scale and urgency of the issue. Food waste contribute to significant share of global greenhouse gas emission and also represents substantial economic loss. So we heard that the importance of data and measurement, particularly through the food waste index, in guiding effective policy and action. And from the key from the question and answer session also, we can learn that the effective coordination across stakeholders must be institutionalized within formal system rather than relying on ad hoc initiatives. And furthermore, that's most important, involving youth, cities, and grassroots actors is essential to ensure both legitimacy and effective implementation of national efforts. And the last session from our great speakers, we can so learn by provide valuable real-world example of how zero waste solution can be implemented in practice. From Tanzania, we learn how community-led waste cooperative can decentralize waste management while creating green jobs as well. And from India, we saw how addressing upstream agriculture waste, such as repurposing the food waste, can unlock new value and reduce inefficiencies across the food system. So yeah, that's the conclusion. Today's discussion reinforced that achieving zero waste requires systemic change, integrating innovation, collaboration, and inclusive governance. And youth are not only stakeholders, but co-creation of solutions, playing critical role in driving transition towards sustainable and circular food system. So thank you very much, and I give the floor back to Samuel. Thank you.
Thank you. With that being said, CYMG will be issuing certificates to all participants who fill the participants' attendance form. Thank you very much to all speakers, and to Jana, I would like to pass the floor for the very last word from Jana. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Samuel. It's hard to have the last word after all of this incredible content, but I wanted to thank the participants for sharing their experience and their knowledge with everyone, and for explaining how zero waste can start at our plate. And hopefully, there are many resources that have been shared with the participants so far that can also help inspire you to also see what actions you can take. But also, I hope that a key takeaway from this webinar so far is individual action is not enough. Systems change needs to happen. And so, what networks and communities can you build to be able to enable this transition towards zero waste? And it can be as simple as your group of friends. It can be as simple as your workplace, your school place, your home environment. And so this can be where zero waste starts more locally and close to where you are, and it can become a domino effect to impact a lot more change at a city level, national, regional, and up to global. So thank you again for everyone for participating and listening in. The recording of this webinar will be made available online, and we will follow up with the certificate, as Samuel has mentioned, for those who have filled the attendance form, as well as the resources that have been shared throughout the webinar will also be shared in email. Thank you very much. And with that, we will be ending and closing the webinar.
We will keep the Zoom open for a couple of minutes. Thank you very much to all speakers. You may leave the meeting. Thank you very much for your participation today. Thank